Let's fight. Welcome in the ring, guys. Welcome. It's Monday, the 26th day of April. It's payday officially, I think it is. So we have lots of things to be happy about, lots to be happy about, and lots not to be happy about. Like, for instance, gas price gone up. Gas price has gone up. So we're monitoring that among other issues. And I have a guest with me. A guest or two are going to be joining with me this evening. But first, guys, we want to start the right way. Pay the price of admission. Nothing is free in this country. Nothing is free. Y'all don't see what's happening at GuyOil? Nothing is free. Pay the cost of admissions. Share the live stream, folks. Welcome in the ring. Whether you guys are joining us on Twitter, you're joining us on Facebook, you're joining us on YouTube, welcome in the ring. Wherever you're joining us from, at home here in Guyana, in the diaspora. You see, since I talk about diaspora, I got a little accent there. In the diaspora, whether you are joining us internationally, welcome, folks. Welcome. Of course, we can talk about the petition. Of course, we can talk about the petition. I want to say good night to all, except. That being said, folks, share the live stream and stick around. Quite a show for you. I have to share a couple of places as well before we get started. So let me make sure that I do that and pay the cost of admission. Pay the cost of admission, folks. Quite a bit of information to get your way. So let's get going, folks. We're almost where we need to be in terms of our magic number. Almost where we need to be. And as soon as we are there, we're going to start. I have at least one of my guests I'm seeing backstage. As soon as we get through our hot topics, we're going to have our guests on, folks. And Trenchy is going to be Trenchies, and the rest of us are going to be the rest of us. Let's fight, folks. Let's fight. All right? Let's fight. So I see so many of you joining us already, and that's where I am heading to ensure that we are sharing the live stream at this end. All right, give me a second, folks. I'm like you, I'm sharing a couple places too. Paying the price of admission. Too many of you are like freeness. Far too many of you are like freeness. So let me ensure that I am well shared. And then we're good to go. All right. All right, we look good. One other place. And then we're going to be good to go. Let me see if I can share it from this very end here. No, I might not be able to. Folks, share the live stream, and then let's get to it. Quite a bit of information I'm going to walk you guys through this evening. And then we're going to have my guest on, and we're going to delve into some issues up close and in a deeper way. All right, just when I don't need the phone to act up, it's doing precisely that. Folks, I'm ready with my hot topics. If you guys are ready to get going, we're almost at our magic number. And as soon as we get there, we are going to get going, folks. Welcome in the ring. Let's fight, folks. Whether you're joining us on Twitter, folks, give us a comment or two. Give us a reshare. YouTubers, tubers. Good to see you guys there. Our subscription for our page going up, which means people are following instructions. They have been subscribing to our page. They've been posting lots of comments. I've seen a large viewership for today's coverage of the elections petition. And also, the regulars on Facebook, you got the Trenchies, you got the Ringsiders. All of you guys are special to us. You all know that. We rub each other very hard, but at the end of the day, it's one big Guyanese family. It's one big Guyanese family. Guys, I'm ready to go with the hot topics for this evening. And of course, by now, if you are following the news locally, or you have perhaps been living on the rock, so you don't know what's happening. Somebody messaged me on WhatsApp asking me, what transpired with the petitions case. Man, y'all are on Facebook. At least you got data. You're messaging me on WhatsApp. So I got to take time out now to tell you what happened with the petitions case. It's all over Facebook. It's in all of the news site. What happened, right? So I'm not gonna waste my time, trying to explain to you what transpired, because of course you are really and truly not interested. Roxanne was Roxanne. What are you gonna say? Roxanne was Roxanne. And for those persons who have been following this, there was no real disappointment here. They say where there's no great love, there can be no great disappointment. But we are going to delve into this ruling a little later on in the program. But I wanted to bring it up front because it's of national importance and national interest. And for those of you who, like the person who messaged me on Twitter, of course, Chief Justice Roxanne George Wiltshire would have thrown out the elections petition number 88. And of course, it goes to appeal now. And Senior Counsel Royce Ford has already signaled that to the court. To the court. And so we are going to keep you updated to that. And as I said, we're going to unpack a little more of that, according to Randolph Cucciolo, a little later on in the program. And also making a resurrection from India is the Juretha Fernandes, High Commissioner to India. This is what he's doing on public servants' money. This is what he's doing on public servants' time. Right? He knows because perhaps she told him that she's heading for the CCJ. This is Roxanne George Wiltshire, the Chief Justice. And he knows that, Don Gregory Barnes and Brassington Reynolds, they're not going to the CCJ. They're going to watch their colleague. The Chief Justice, Roxanne George Wiltshire, head off to the CCJ. Well, he would know, right? He would know because one Judas always know the other. So Fernandes would know. Living large in taxpayers' money at a 5-star hotel in India. And this is the diatribe that we get out of the taxpayers' money. Fernandes. Enough with that. And to signal that the PPP really and truly come back. Again, unless you've been living on the rock, right? You're kind of exposed now to the corruption that's happening in the PPP camps. And this morning, Sabbath News editorial took exception to what has been happening at what they call the GuyOil turmoil. And one of the things that they pointed out in this editorial from Sabbath News is the fact that this matter was referred to the Auditor General. And Sabbath News' contention is that since no actual monies are involved, what is the purpose of the Auditor General when persons would have to be interviewed and deposed and etc.? Why not hand the matter to the police? So quite interesting to see Sabbath News take on it, the GuyOil's corruption saga, what they're headlined in their editorial as GuyOil turmoil. And so we're continuing to follow that, folks. And another evidence that the PPP is back. Of course, persons have been bawling at the pump that the gas price has gone up once more. Since the budget has been read, how much times gas price gone up? You all remember when they lowered gas price? Oh my Lord, it was heaven and earth, it was hallelujah. And they raised gas price about 10 times since then. 10 times since then. Well, you understand why gas price got to raise. Because if one man from an oil deal of 65,000 barrels of oil getting $1 US per barrel, you understand why the gas price is going to continue to go up. Because pockets got to be lined, folks. That is the way the PPP operate. Turning our attention now to COVID-19. Of course, the PPP's governance of COVID-19 has been atrocious and has been found wanting on so many occasions. Now we're learning that there are 51 new COVID cases as of today. And I think it was Newsroom who said that the infections are steadily rising, approaching 13,000. And just recently, we went over that 12,000 mark. Now we're heading to 13,000. And Starbuck News reports that the death toll now rises by 3. 3 persons died today from COVID-19. And the death toll is now 287. Folks, it was about 3 weeks ago. I remember clear as day, we were in the Promenade Gardens paying our respects to the 200th COVID death. It was a couple of weeks ago. 87 persons have died since then. And of course, you know by now that April has been the most deadly month in for COVID-19. And what we are seeing also to tell us where we are in this surge and spread of COVID-19, unmitigated by government measures. This is a letter that is circulating for doctors on the East Coast, all health centers on the East Bank and East Coast. And I want to read a paragraph. It says that with reference to the above caption, please be advised that effective the 26th of April, all government medical doctors who are currently stationed at health centers on the East Bank and East Coast of the Demerara must do on-call duties at their regional hospital. And this is a missive from the regional health officer, one Dr. Gavinash Prasad of the Regional Democratic Council, Gavinash Prasad, instructing the nurses that they must do on-call duties. That's to tell you where we are. You got to be on call because this thing is spreading rapidly. That being said, this evening, I want to welcome my guest, and we are going to talk. We are going to talk about a number of issues, including PUP's governance thus far, and also the elections petition. And as we always say on this program, folks are welcome wherever you call home. If it's the WPA, the TUF, well, there's no TUF now. You belong to TCI, but there's no TCI now. Sorry about that. The TCM, oh my God. These parties crop up and disappear so quickly. There's no TCM now. Whichever party you belong to, whichever religion you belong to. In the Ring is a place that we contend with ideas. And so I want to welcome this evening, again, for the second time in the ring, Telford Layne. Telford Layne. Telford, I wish we could get like an ounce more light. I don't know if you're paying your light bill these days or what is happening, or because a lot is happening at GuyOil between this oil contract with GPL and GuyOil. They're not supplying you with electricity there. Telford, a very good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Sorry for the poor lighting. I'm in the office and I don't know what's happening. I think it's low voltage, but
great.
At least they're seeing the structure.
I shouldn't say great. I shouldn't say great because in this 21st century, we should not be talking about low voltage, right? We should not be talking about low voltage. And 2 Fridays back, Telford, I was sharing with our audience, and I showed them a newspaper clipping in which in the 1970s, we're talking about solving this blackout issue in the 1970s. And it was Glenn Lal who just recently, if you want to pick an independent person, who was saying just recently that he was quite concerned with this spate of blackouts, since under the APNU AFC, we did not have this amount of blackouts. I know you might not want to hear this, but it is what it is. And I am, and before you respond, just before you respond, Telford, I have with us, joining us this evening, apologies, give me a second. Yeah, I have joining us this evening, the one and only Mr. Saiku Andrews. And Saiku and Telford are always at it on Facebook. So I couldn't really have Telford Layne without Saiku Andrews, and Saiku Andrews without Telford. Well, I know Saiku is an entrepreneur, an artist, gospel artist, he's a businessman, so he would have a standby generator and so on. But Telford, unlike Saiku, but that is what has been the contention. Lala saying we have not had blackouts under the APNU AFC administration the way we have had it now in 8-9 short months of the PUP administration. I know Telford would want to hear this, but it is what it is.
No, I know the blackouts, and I'm beginning to be amazed as to what is happening. I know they have taken back their old-time CEO, and I'm thinking that I just can't believe that this is so incompetent. I'm thinking that they're working on some sort of structure to really remedy this situation, because I think one of the failing of this nation is addressing the electrification program. I think all political parties, or all the previous government, including this one, has both failed in addressing this problem. It put kind of business on the back burner because you cannot be competitive with regional producers. Imagine for me, you're going to school, you're doing your common entrance in blackout, and then later on you're doing your PhD in blackout as well. I mean, you're progressing, but the nation is not progressing.
I agree with you all with the exception of there was failure in the at the GPL level with the last administration. Saiku.
I disagree with him too on that. Totally, I disagree with him. When
Folks,
you
I'm
think
getting
about
an echo. I hope. Saiku, just hold a second. I'm getting an echo. I hope that's not translating to our audience. So just ensure you're watching us on one device, or if it's two, that one is mute.
I'm watching
You
you
might
on
want to see
one.
what's happening on Facebook too. Just make sure that device is on mute. Because I'm getting a feedback and I'm wearing a headpiece.
I'm not sure. Do I have to turn on my volume or something? Because I'm on one device.
All right, let me mute us while you're on.
You got me now? Just nod your head if you got. Okay, so I was saying that I disagree with Telford on the failure of GPL in the last administration. I think the first of all, we know that when it comes to electricity, our system is terrible. Our infrastructure is outdated and stuff like that. So we haven't had a government that was there for 23 years. You understand? At least by 2015, we should have seen some sort of improvement in the structure, you know. And if you want to blame the previous government based on what you left, a solid structure, then we could say, yes, it's gross incompetence or whatever. But the truth of the matter is that they inherited an outdated system, a system that does not work. You understand? And so they had to do what they had to do then. So, and they made steps on that. They made steps towards correcting that because you would have seen the generators that Minister Petition would have bought and stuff like that. And we heard from this previous government that those things were wasteful spending, but now it's not wasteful spending anymore. It just shows the foresight of the previous minister, you know. So now we're here at this place. This administration, I expected, would build on what was already done, you know, pick up from there. And but like Telford mentioned, we see the old CEO gone back in office. I mean, what has he done? You know, while he wasn't there, what has he done to
of
deserve
interest is
going
that
back there after all of his failures?
That CEO was fired by his board and led at that time by Winston Brassington, who was then the chairman of what is the subsidiary? It's slipping me, but Brassington was the chairman of the board when Dindial was fired as GPL CEO. So it's quite interesting that they have brought him back first as a consultant and now he's back as CEO.
But that's what I'm saying, Sherrod. What has he done from the time he got let go as CEO? Did he do another program, another master's degree? Did he do some additional training? Did he, you know, what has he done that is tangible that the administration could look at him and say, listen, you're not going to be the same guy that was fired the last time. You're going to be totally different. Mind you, it's a different challenge. GPL is going to be encountering a different challenge. It's a growing economy. You know, the needs are, you know, are growing and stuff like that. So it's a new GPL, you know, with a different mandate, basically, you know. So
one of the points also,
and I don't think that he brought anything new.
I agree with you, Saiku. One of the points that Glenlal also made is that according to Glenlal, GPL is more lucrative than cocaine because of the amounts of money that has poured into GPL in 23 years of the PPP administration and 5 years of the new AFC administration. So Glenlal's contention, the publisher of Kaito News, is that GPL is more lucrative than pushing cocaine in this country.
But look, Guyana is plagued with a situation that will forever dog us. Saiku is a businessman. I'm a small businessman. Now I'm into psychology. We make decisions based on our platform. Saiku will make a financial and an investment decision as a private investor or as a businessman with a family. Politicians make political decisions. And most of the political decisions we'll always have problems with, we'll always find conflict with. Because when you make a political decision, you're making a decision to cement your position in office, your future, as well as those who support you. So those who are running private businesses, those who make decisions from a different platform, will always have problems with political decisions because it may not be prudent, it may not be the best thing to do, it may be a long race line, it may be for some other reason. And I think so when we look at GPL, we look at Gaisuku, we look at corruption in offices, all those are political decisions. Whereas if I had to make a decision like that, a guy thieves $300,000, I fire him. I'm done with that. But politicians make a political decision that, you know what, he's from my base, I'm going to lose some vote if I let him go, so I'm going to put him to another ministry. And it's the same thing APNU did. So my big problem is political decisions.
Right there, Saiku.
Telford, but I respect that. Politicians make political decisions, fine. But you can't make a political decision at my expense. You can't make a decision to hire somebody that is proven to be incompetent in a position and tell me that that's a political decision. How many votes is going to win for the PPP?
You think that decision is at your expense. That decision, the politicians do not want it to be at their expense. Because if you, for example, Gaisuku, if you do not put the money there, we're losing votes. For you, it's a bad decision because Guyana can't afford to finance that. For the PPP, we can't afford to lose the votes. So we will make that decision to secure our votes. And the same thing I was saying with APNU, that 90% or 75% of APNU supporters are public servants. Make the political decision to give the public servant money. They have been underpaid for 23 years. Give them the money. So not because somebody make a political decision for their base and you're upset with it, you also had the opportunity to make it and you did not. And so they will be. Politician knows that there are consequences when you do not make prudent political decisions.
But that cannot, Telford, be a fair comparison because consistently over 5 years, APNU AFC raised wages and salaries for public servants. Consistently, 2 budgets later, there is no raise of pay for public servants. And this cannot be a base issue when you have a public service that is relevant to the needs of the society. As against sugar, there are so many substitutes for brown sugar. How do you justify them pouring billions into the sugar industry? I don't think it's a fair comparison at all.
Okay, so look at this. ExxonMobil got billions of tax concessions at the expense of who? You and I. That money could have been saved to pay public servants and you didn't have to ball. So you have to understand the mentality of PPP. PPP thinks big. They are strategic. They dig hole to full hole. They may not know exactly how they're going to full this hole. They may not know how they will full this hole, but they're going to full this hole. And sometime in the future they'll strategize to full back that hole. And the issue is
hold a sec for me. Hold a sec for me because you're talking about the oil to show the gas to show project, big and so on. But I want to welcome MP Juretha Fernandes, who is joining the discussion as well this evening. Go ahead, Telford.
Yeah. So I'm saying that you need to get the money from somewhere. So Saiku want buy a next door property, you have to strategize. Either you raise your markup or something like that, and that's what PP does. Now the thing is, we will never be comfortable with political decisions when it's not being made from the political party that we support, and we have to live with that. And therefore, I'm saying that we have come to the point where there's an importance that we have to allow agencies to make financial and prudent decisions without political interference, like GPL, Gaisuku, and all these places make decisions without political interference. The moment you involve politicians, they are securing their next 5 years. And we can't run from that. It doesn't matter. If APNU going to do the same thing, I guarantee they will do the same thing.
Saiku?
Your mic.
Okay, so many things Telford talk about, digging a hole to fill a hole. I don't know how in God's name Telford could justify this, like try to find a reason to reason this out. It is gross incompetence. You cannot do that. This has nothing to do with whether I'm a private businessman or I'm a politician. If I'm a politician, I'm going to make a decision with regards to the people's money. I have to make a prudent decision. They have to get value for money. That's it. And we have been consistently accepting mediocrity when it comes to politicians in Guyana. That, you know what, we just give them a pass and give them an excuse. To hire Dean Dial for GPL, it's a bad political decision. It is a bad managerial decision. There's no director worth their salt would hire that guy and put him back there unless something has changed. Flat out. That's just my take.
I agree with you.
And we have to move on. So I want to bring GuyOil now, because it is based on this contract with GPL to supply oil from GuyOil to GPL. We have now the GuyOil scandal. Telford, well, let me pull MP Fernandes into the discussion. What is happening at GuyOil? Unpack that for us, according to my colleague Randy.
Good night, Sherrod. I think I came a little bit late, so I was just trying to catch up on the discussion with GPL, actually, with all the back and forth with GPL. But I'm hoping that conversation as I met it, only had to do with the CEO of GCOM and not necessarily with the quality of service that Guyanese are receiving from GPL, and not to do with the quality of service we're receiving from GPL at the moment, because I'm just hoping that I don't get blackout whilst I'm speaking to you right now. Because that's how bad it is. Before I came on, the lights were doing all sorts of madness. So, Sherrod, the PP went back into office, and like we have been saying before, what they did was try to continue where they left off prior to 2015. So if they had some sluggish people hanging around that they needed there for their personal reasons, they brought back these people, because their only intention was to continue where they left off prior to 2015. They did not care if these persons made bad decisions that affected the citizens of Guyana. Basically, what happened to them is they went into office in 2020, and they met a system that they could not comprehend. They could not catch up with what happened during those 5 years. So they had to take several steps back in order for them to understand the only system that they know, the corrupt system, a system that has absolutely no transparency. And that's what is there today. I think the GuyOil situation, I think what is quite sad, alarming about it altogether is the fact that the guy didn't even spend 6 months. Was it 6 months, Sherrod?
I don't think so, Juretha.
I don't think he spent 6 months on the job, but what we're seeing
on that very point, to add there, Trevor Basu had some issues with the national printers where he worked, and that was fully ventilated in Kaitro News. In addition to that, the corporate secretary had some issues as well through an audit that was done through, I think, was Nigel Hines' consultancy firm, in which he seemed to have been giving family members contracts through GuyOil. And so these persons already came into the system with asterisks over their name. So just putting that out there.
Well, and that's exactly why I want to go back to the GPL matter, because it's the same situation there. We know of all the question marks over the head of the CEO, but the people don't care about that. The people go ahead and they make decisions that benefits them and them alone. They don't make decisions that benefit the citizens of this country. They don't move forward like that. Even when it comes to the situation with sugar, the PPP made that decision. That's their own personal decision. That's not to benefit Guyanese at any point in time. We know what the coalition made a decision rather that would have benefited Guyanese altogether when the coalition attempted to right size the industry, because as we all know, the economics of that just didn't add up. And I believe one of the first things that had to be done when the coalition got into office was actually to pump billions of dollars into that industry. What the PP is doing right about now is just trying to say that we are the PPP, we're in office, and we're going to do what the hell ever we want to do. And because we don't believe we have an explanation that should be given to anyone, and that's what's going on right now. There is no justification. I think we're looking to, Sharon, I honestly believe that sometimes we look too hard for a justification to what the PPP is doing. They don't have a justification. That's how they operate. They just do whatever they want to do.
Well, I hope Telford listening.
I have a point, and I kind of disagree with the MP.
The reason disagrees with these things, and I kind of strange because I often think that. No, just let me hear me out, Telford.
Sure, go ahead.
I often believe that Telford he tries to be up to date with what is going on. So I always find it very difficult to see his logic in supporting these people, because it doesn't match his profile.
Saiku might agree with you too. Saiku might agree with you.
It doesn't match your profile. I believe that he has this perception that he has painted, Telford, with all due respect. I believe you have this perception that you have painted in your mind about the PPP, and you try desperately to justify their actions or lack thereof. But
well, just to be the devil's advocate, some persons might say Telford is a house slave. He'd have to explain to us this evening whether he's so or not.
Okay, so this is my point. So let me let you know, guys. I'll let you guys know what's up. I've never voted for the PPP, never. The last election, I voted for change. Last election, I voted for Change Guyana, because what I wanted and what I believed in was that there needs to be accountability, and in order to bring that accountability, you need another party or other parties other than PPP and APNU. This country, in my mind, this country had two referendums. In 2011 with Ramatar, when they became the government, the minority government, neither political party listened to this nation. Then in 2015, although the 2011 referendum wasn't quite clear, people decided, you know what, we fed up of this stuff, we want ours to clean, we're giving APNU the mandate, we give you a clear mandate. So we give you the parliament and we give you the government. What the people weren't looking for a miracle. They were looking for an effort. They were looking for a strategic, clear plan. We can all agree that the president was not communicating. They started out well for the first 6 months. It was excellent. Then they became unavailable. For some reason, I can't say. I lost the ball. Any of my political commentary.
My silence is not agreement. My silence is not agreement.
Any of my political commentary, and people believe that I'm here to defend PPP. I'm not here to defend neither party. I'm here to look and to understand why these people operate like this and why these people operate like that. And so I might try to give you a reason that's in my thinking as to how they're operating. That doesn't mean that I support them. It doesn't mean that I agree with them. I'm just letting you know that I don't agree with Saiku. I don't agree with what they did. I heard the MP says that APNU took the entire nation into consideration when they addressed the Saiku matter, and I can tell you that's not true, because you can't close down an industry with thousands of people without having a provision for them, and so that was not taking care of the nation. Similarly, PPP can't say that we're taking care of the nation by pumping money into Saiku when it's already failed and it will continue to fail. But because you are standing on either side of the political fence, what suits you, you support. And that's what I'm saying, that anybody in their right frame of mind, including Saiku, will never agree with political decisions, because politicians always equate votes to money. If I spend 200 million, I can probably pick up two seats in parliament. That's the rationale. And at APN, you done that, they would have still been in government today.
I think if I can
Saiku,
just
I want to pull Saiku in. Juretha, apologies. I want to pull Saiku in there.
Necessarily, what he got right is the fact that I don't necessarily agree with political decisions. I like value for money. You know what I mean? I don't really wanna go on with Telford's whole thing. Like Juretha said, Mr. Nan said. I think Telford looks at it from a psychological level, and so he tries to explain away the actions of people. My thing is, let's get straight to the point. There are some things that I might not like that APNU did or stuff like that, but I'm gonna tell you, if you say that they did not, think about the entire nation when they downsized sugar, Telford, I think you got it wrong. You can argue that maybe the execution was not flawless. You can argue that, but you cannot say that they did not consider the nation. The fact that an industry has been bleeding for decades and decades and taking away valuable resources from other sectors, including healthcare, education, and infrastructure. The fact you think that listen, let us right size this thing so that we can have more cash available to do so much more for 90% of the population who've been rejected, who've been neglected, because we're feeding this dead stock here. That is considered the nation at large. Secondly, when you think about the plans to give severance pay and to have them retrained for a new industry, how can you say that they're not even thinking about them? And that's where you and I jump on butt heads right here for things like this, because I can see that laid out plain. I can tell you, did they execute? Was it flawless? Did their PR was great on it? No, absolutely not.
While Saiku Mike's
Am I back?
studies up there, I think you
Am I
having
back, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm saying, could they have done? Could the APNU AFC have done things better? Would I love to see them do that better, or do sugar better, or execute it better? Yes. But I do not agree with you that they did not consider the nation. I wanna, before I go, if you guys hear me clear, on the GuyOil issue, I'm waiting to see somebody get fired. If nobody's fired, then it just continues to erode the trust that I would want to have in my government, regardless whether it's PPP, whether it's APNU, whether it's Change Guy. And if you're the government, I must be able to trust you. And if something as big as GuyOil comes along, these guys are caught on tape, negotiating, trying to rob me. Sheridan, trying to rob me, and you overseeing my money, and you're telling me you're not going to fire nobody. No, I can't trust you. So I'm waiting to see somebody get fired. Not necessarily the CEO, because it looks like he wasn't a part of the whole thing, but I'm waiting to see. Go ahead, guys.
All right. I want to steer us now in the direction of the elections petition. It's the elephant in the room. Since August 2nd to now, March 2nd, 2020 to now, every case that has gone before the Chief Justice pertaining to this election has been thrown out. It has been ruled the other way. I think the only one case that might have gone the other way was the Mingo case, where Adelanzal had brought a contempt charge against Mingo. The Chief Justice at that point had asked him whether he had the evidence, whether he wanted to continue with the case. He said yes. And the day before the judgment was handed down, he withdrew the case, and the Chief Justice, Roxanne George, will chastise him tremendously, stating that he had wasted the court's time. She threw out the first elections petition number 99. I think it was on January 18th. And this morning on April 26th, she threw out petition number 88. Your thoughts, guys?
My thoughts on this one is very short, Sharon. I am not a legal mind, and I don't want to pretend, but I want to ask this fundamental question: has Ms. George, the Chief Justice, has any of her decisions that she made as Chief Justice ever been overturned at the level of the CCJ? That's a question I want answered. Because what I would allow this to do, we're living in a democracy and everybody has rights. And I see guys all over Facebook saying, you shouldn't appeal, APNU shouldn't appeal, or PPP shouldn't appeal. No. The Chief Justice rules, you don't like it, you appeal. You go to the appeal court, they don't like it, you appeal. You go to the CCJ. Just if you want to exhaust the process, it's your choice. But I just want to know from a citizen standpoint, has this woman ever made a decision that the CCJ have overturned? Because from all appearances, it seems as though her judgment has been spot on. Her rulings, as a matter of fact, has been spot on. So, I won't want to criticize her judgment. You might be disappointed as a politician, that you didn't get to hear what you want to hear. But at the end of the day, CCJ might have the last say. So you guys could take that one away.
Well, I'm happy that Saiku raised that question, because there is a school of thought out there that says that the Chief Justice is playing to the CCJ gallery because she wants a job there when her time on the bench expires. So there is that too. And while I cannot find a case offhand, that doesn't say one doesn't exist. And I think there are judgments where there were dissenting views based on the Chief Justice ruling. So she might not have lost the case outright at the CCJ, but there were dissenting and very harsh dissenting views on those cases. But I know definitely at the Court of Appeal level, there are quite a few of her decisions that were overturned.
The thing is that our country is in a mess. There's no trust. We view everybody with suspicion. Guyana is in a social state, almost a social crisis. We have suicide going on. We have neglect and abuse of children. So much things happening, mental health, so much things happening. And I can only imagine if Roxanne George was an Indian and she made that decision as how she always ruled, how we would have castigated Indians. But she's an African, and we believe that Africans are cornered, and Africans in high places should do things to protect African interest. And when that is not done, that person has sold them souls. We fight for professional, ethical public servants, and when we find 1 in 17 billion, we tell ourselves, no, that can't be one. That's a wrong one. Bring another one. And until we come to the point where we have to realize that when a decision has to be made, it's either right or wrong. You will be right or you'll be wrong. There's no other way. Then we can be more mature to accept the reality of a society. Until then, we will always treat others with contempt and suspicion.
Here, Telford, throw that out there, because this is not just a political issue. Let me mute somebody. Yeah. This is not just a political issue at this level. It was the human rights report that came out of the U.S. State Department recently that talked about not only the perception, but cases where there are evidence of corruption in the judiciary, in the police force. So there's one thing to talk about distrust based on politics and who might be playing to the PPP gallery and who might be playing to the AFC gallery. But then when you look at the State Department's report, whose gallery are they playing to when they talk and underline the same issues, as you say, Telford, as being critical issues in terms of solving to move this country forward? Telford or Juretha?
I'll let the MP go.
Sure, there's a couple of things that Telford said that actually needs to be addressed because since he was speaking earlier, and I know I'm just gonna jump back just for a few seconds because Telford said something that I just can't let it go and let the program just end without me just correcting what he said. He said that the coalition shut down the sugar industry. That is far from the truth. The coalition never shut down the sugar industry. When the coalition got into office, the PPP had already started to close. They had already started the process of closing off some of those estates. When the coalition got into office, what the coalition did was have a more structured approach in the way in which they would manage the closing off, because even the PPP knew that that process of right sizing had to be done. But the PPP took the matter and kicked it around at the political football at the has. And that is something that I think definitely I could not let it slide because Telford said it. I don't know if it just slip of the tongue or whatever, but that was not the case. So that had to be corrected. When we're talking about the judgment today, the judgment today was very disappointing to obviously the coalition supporters. A lot of persons out there. I was out there on the ground, and emotions were very high because people we have been in this for quite some time. We went through a recount process. We've been through so many different court hearings as it pertains to the 2020 election, and I can tell you this, Sheridan. Another thing Telford said, is either right or wrong. If it was either right or wrong, we wouldn't have had an appeal court. We wouldn't have been able to take it to the level of the CCJ. This is not black and white. We're just not looking at something as simple as right and wrong. If an opinion is given and based on the perception of one court, that's the way it is. That's not how it works. So there is the option that the coalition representatives have already put forward that they're going to utilize, which is the appeal court. But what I can tell you, and I can tell the citizens of this country, is that the court that's just one of the options that the coalition is pursuing. We have the legal minds out there, and they're working every single day to get that work done. But there's work that is being done with regards to the country altogether, and the coalition getting back into office. Of course, it's not the only way that the coalition can get back into office. The PP is not in there for life. Like everybody likes to make this song, the supporters of the PP, oh my God, they're back in there. The PP is there, and I will tell persons again, they will be out at the next election if it takes so long. They will be out at that next election if it takes so long. I know Telford spoke a little bit earlier. I see him with a big smile on his face there. Telford spoke a little bit earlier, and he said, try to separate himself from the PPP and supporting the PPP per se. It's even said that he voted for Change Guyana at the last election. But what I can tell Telford is that it is even more dangerous for you to not be voting for a political party, but given the perception out there that that's the party that you support. Because in politics, once you add your voice to political matters, perception is reality, and the perception that you put out there is that you're an advocate for the PPP. That's a perception persons have. It's a very dangerous, slippery slope that you're going down when you try to give justification to a lot of the things that the PPP says, and then in the same breath you try to say, well, I don't support these people necessarily. I get what you're saying, that you just try to be structured and rational about the way in which you see these matters, but I'm just saying that you need to be a little more structured in your approach when you are defending or whatever little critique that you give. Because for me, for example, it's not questionable. My thoughts are biased. I'm AFC. I am a part of the coalition, and that's what I believe in, and I will and I will go down fighting for what I believe in. And I believe, and I have a lot of respect for persons that go out there and do the same, say, well, this is what I believe in. This is the party that I support, and this is what I believe in. But let's not play with persons' mind. I think it's a very dangerous thing for people to go out there and to be basically the psychological warfare that plays out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on all of these things. Don't be a part of that lineup that plays with people's mind that says, oh, well, look what they're doing here and look what they're doing there. Because at some point in time, we have thousands of persons out there that this is no joke to them. They are hurt. They feel that it was today's decision. I can tell you, because a lot of you, I don't know if any of you were any part on the scene, but I was there, and I can tell you, people are not hurt because they believe that there is no justification. Everybody out there knew exactly what was going on. I respect so much the fact that ordinary Guyanese that have been following this process step by step. The arguments that they put forward on the streets of Georgetown, it is so compact. They know everything that's going on. You're not just talking to a group of people that is being spoon-fed something. They have their own mind.
Juretha, that is why I wanted to have both Saiku and Telford, because I see them as ordinary Guyanese. I mean, they are businessmen, they are family men. They are feeling the brunt of whatever policies are instituted, which takes me in the other direction now. As businessmen, I saw recently the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce talked about the escalating crime. The president even said over the weekend, he's trying to get a handle on it. I mean, we didn't see this under the previous administration, and I can't help but to make the comparisons. What are your thoughts on crime and what is happening as businessmen, as fathers, as family men, as citizens?
A+. I think they were strategic. I think they were deliberate. I think they were intentional in addressing the security problems, and in order to address that, they had to address certain social issues. So hats off to these guys. Hats off to them. The issue with PP, you have to understand the context of crime. If somebody feels marginalized, and Afro-Guyanese feels marginalized under the PPP, you feel marginalized, then it changes your mindset, and it propels you or motivates towards committing crime or getting some sort of justice that you need. The other aspect of that dynamic is that with prosperity breeds corruption. And I was telling people that, of course, you won't see the level of corruption on the APNU, but corruption was there. PPP takes power. Money is circulating. I drive around like a month, 2 months after the general election. I see all this big construction going on. I'm like, wow, people literally held back their money because they were scared and uncertain. And so those who are marginalized moves around in their community and see development, see people making money, and see that there is no hope, there is no future, they're stagnated. What do you think they will do? I think PP really needs. I think PP needs to address.
Only Afro-Guyanese are marginalized and committing crime, because lots of times when you see the mugshots, there are lots of Indo-Guyanese as well. So I don't think crime is predominantly Afro-Guyanese. So I take exception to that comment.
So when I speak, I speak in majority or in most cases, but that doesn't mean that other races aren't committing or other races aren't involved. We are talking about the masses. And I think that PPP needs to address this. I think the first time when the issue came up with the ex-minister Simona, I thought that the president needed to address this, because that, to me, that was a catalyst, as to what to expect going forward. And if no
One issue
deliberate
was that Telford.
Sorry?
We're talking about corruption and how governments would have dealt with it, and you mentioned former Minister Simone Broom. So I want to know what issue.
No,
and
no.
was there.
There was this fishing fiasco where somebody attempted to pull gun or threaten her or something to that sort, and the two person were traced back to the PPP. And I honestly thought that matter needed to be addressed by the president, because if not, it would have served as a catalyst for all the other crimes that will come. That, oh, we back in power, they could do what they want, people scared again. So I thought that it needed to be addressed. I don't think it was properly addressed. And so what you had, it was trickling. You have to understand people's behavior. If somebody moves a bowl, the next man will want to move the bucket, and then the next man want to move the drum. And so you need to stop it when the first man moves the bowl, so that nobody feels empowered to move the drum. And I think the issue of crime, that's where we are, because I think the present government failed to address it from the inception. And so people feel empowered and emboldened that, we can do this because there is protection available.
Agree with Telford on that end note, because we started with 2 trawlers licensed at Ministry of Agriculture, and now a man at GuyOil wants $1 on every barrel, a US dollar on every barrel of 65,000 barrels of oil, and that's just one shipment for a month. Folks, we have come to our program time, but I want to know your thoughts. The junction where we are in our country, we talked about crime, we didn't have a chance to talk about what's happening with COVID. We see what's happening with GuyOil and a whole host of other issues. What are your thoughts to Guyanese as we at this moment in our nation's history? I start with Saiku.
My thoughts. I think we need to change the story. You know the song we sang. We need to change the story. Guyanese need to understand our history, how we came to this place under the circumstances and stuff like that. And we need to understand at the end of the day, the root cause of our division is not India or Africa. We know the root cause of our division. It was those who wanted to manipulate both Indians and blacks. And so Guyanese need to change the story. We need to understand, our political leaders need to understand that marginalization, discrimination, racism, they allow it to fester under their leadership. It costs a country. It's reported in 2020 that it cost the US billions of dollars. And I say this, if I'm a businessman, and I'm from East Randolph, and I have the perfect way of doing something, I cannot, if racism continues and discrimination continues, I cannot expand what I am doing to other areas, to other ethnicities. You understand? Because this whole thing traps us. So Guyana would be allowed to flourish if we get rid of this whole racism, marginalization, discrimination, all these Asians, and isms. If we get rid of all of these things, Guyana is allowed to flourish. So I think we're at a place where Guyanese need to stand up and say to politicians, listen, if you're a black president and you're biased and your policies are biased towards my East Indian and my Amerindians and the mixed races, I have to hold you accountable. I have to check you. You can't get my vote. And the Indian people need to say the same thing to the PPP. You understand? Because APNU supporters said it to APNU. They're very critical to APNU, and the PPP supporters need to say to the PPP, if your policies line up with discrimination, racism, marginalization, cronyism, we cannot support you, because at the end of the day, you're stifling us from growing, as a country. So I think we're at that junction where we need to say enough is enough and change the story.
MP Fernandes, I want to give Telford the last word in the discussion.
Sharon, I totally agree with the last speaker, because that's where we are, and it's really personal to me, to be honest with you. The whole issue with the racism in Guyana, race-based politics and all of that, because it's not something that I practice. It's not something that I ever practiced. I never was in a situation in which I had to choose or make a decision based on any particular race. And I often tell people that I was born and raised in Bartica, and because of that, I think I had an advantage when it comes to living in a community that had so much unity among the various races. So I it's very sad the state that we're in Guyana as it regards race. I even look I would be very direct right now too. I can even use this show in the ring as an example. If it's sad, if you are to go within the comments after your show, if you were to browse the comments of your show, the negative, nasty, derogatory comments that come in, there's a specific set of names aligned to those comments that you could directly identify. Oh well, this is the ethnicity that is being offended by what I am saying. And I say being offended because sometimes I said I honestly think that people believe what the propaganda has been fed to them. So it is something that we have to change. And I say we because the panel that's right here tonight, we're the future of this country, and that's the fact. We were born into a system that exploited race, and we need to change it. We need to take the country to a point that we discuss policies. We need to take the country to a point that persons are interested in what policies we have to offer, and not by the color of our skin and the texture of our hair. And that's my contribution. Everything that I would be doing in politics altogether will be based on policy, and it will never ever be based on race, because I will not subscribe to abusing anybody's feelings, fear, hurt, anger. I will never exploit that for any bit of political mileage. I will never ever exploit it for any vote. And once we get to the point that we have more persons coming on board and saying, well, this is the way in which we're going to go, it's going to be different. But the difficulty is shared, and I will not just leave it like that. I have to say what the difficulty is, that we have an entire political party that sole purpose and sole function is to exploit race. That's what we're facing. And there's no going around and beating around the bush with it. That's what it is. I've often said that the coalition presents the most balanced and diverse persons ever seen in parliament in Guyana, I believe. And it is something to take note of. It is noteworthy of, because it is the first real step in the right direction. When you have a mixed list of people like the coalition have, you have better representation. And that's the fact. We're not just putting persons. I am proud of how far we have come in the coalition in fighting racism. I am proud. We have an extremely far way to go. We've just tipped the iceberg. We have an extremely far way to go, but we need to be committed towards it. And we need to not be dragged into the race debate as often as easily as we could be dragged into it by the PPP, because that's the only way they can get votes, because they seldom look at policy. They literally went to an election and used only the race card. They literally went to an election without even presenting a manifesto, a two-flyer thing, and say, well, that's their plans, because they know what works for them. And if we don't get to a point that we say that enough is enough of that, we're not going to go anywhere, Sharon. So I'll close by saying that.
Thanks, MP. Telford.
From the time the European brought the indentured laborers to this present moment, Guyana has been playing to the scripts of the European race, one race against the other. There was a motive with the indentured laborers that they brought with the African slave, and we're seeing that manifestation play out today. While I'm concerned about people being concerned about the way PPP govern, I am more concerned that there is no check and balance on PPP. Guyana is about to become one of the most wealthy or maybe a financial powerhouse in the Caribbean. And you don't have an opposition party that is strong, influential, strategic, and can hold PPP accountable. And that's the worst thing that can happen, to have a man or a group of people controlling the treasury and you can't hold them accountable. I think this is the time where APNU needs to sit down and re-strategize and bring the old people, the younger generation into this politics, have them gain some competence and build their capacity to deal with this. If not, people will continue to lead by miles. They will continue to do things unchecked. APNU supporters will continually be bitter, continually be angry, continually be resentful because not the PUP, because their leadership is not holding the party or the government accountable. And I think the biggest crisis that this country can ever see is having a government with all the vast of money and resources and cannot even hold them accountable. I'm out. Thanks for being here.
I disagree with some aspects of what Telford said there, but I don't want to start our next engagement now. Telford Layne, psychologist by training and businessman. Saiku Andrews, economist by training and a businessman as well. And Juretha Fernandes, you all have that in common. Juretha is also an economist by training as well. And all of you guys from the University of Guyana. I know where Telford went. If Telford went, I flutter away. But guys, I want to thank you all.
University of Southern Caribbean.
Where?
University of Southern Caribbean.
Excellent. Folks, I want to thank you guys for being here this evening, because I wanted, especially from Saiku and Telford, and on the ground perspective and point of view of all that has been happening, inclusive of the decision handed down just today by Chief Justice Roxanne George Wiltshire in petition number 88. Folks, thank you all for joining us. Telford, Saiku, Juretha.
Thank you for having me, Sharon.
Guys, and as we go this evening, I want to encourage you, as we always do, to social distance, wear your mask, sanitize. COVID is real, and it's getting realer as the days go by. You all are seeing what the national numbers are. I think it's 287 dead now. We're pushing on 13,000 confirmed cases of COVID. I get lots of text messages about COVID in the school system, teachers infected with COVID, students infected with COVID. I don't know why all of these teachers are being called out. For instance, at Saints, the teachers are complaining about being called out. At school, even in the midst of this surge with COVID, I have so many notes here about teachers and what's happening in the school system. I am seeing also at, I want to call this school's name, if I just can find it here, a school in Charlestown, not Charlestown Secondary School, another school there also asked me to raise this issue about the students going out to school and contracting COVID, and they're very, very concerned. Parents are concerned as well. They're being asked now to print out these worksheets from online. A woman said she got 4 kids in between primary and secondary school, and the cost of this, the cost of data to access the teaching online and all of that is bearing down on parents. And we were asking for some intervention. A parent all the way from Rose Hall reached out to me and said that her child had to go into school for lessons, and a teacher touched her inappropriately in her waist. The matter was reported to the HM, and he had to apologize to the student. What is happening, folks? What is happening? We need better leadership from our government, better leadership out of these folks. And I really want to thank you guys, both Telford and Saiku and Juretha, for helping us make sense of some of these issues this evening, and for coming on and sharing the time with us. Folks, COVID is real. COVID is real. Mask up, sanitize, social distance. Have a great evening. We'll see you guys back tomorrow. Thanks to our guests again this evening for having the testicular fortitude and the intellectual aptitude for stepping into the ring, where we defend the truth, where we promote the truth rather, and we defend the facts. Thanks for joining us, guys. Stay safe. See you tomorrow night. Stay safe.